I guess, of working in the not-for-profit sector, primarily in leadership positions. And I certainly have learned a lot over those years, and I hope that I can share some of the things that I've learned. I'm one of those prime examples of a really good leadership is about a lot of failure, so I'm a really good leader. So what I want to do actually is talk a little bit about some of the things that I wish that I had known when I was your age, and perhaps I could have taken into some of the positions that I had. So the title of my position, it's Vancouver Foundation. The title of my position is, my presentation is Leading from Behind. And I've taken that as the title because I really strongly believe that in the not-for-profit sector, where you're working with boards and you're working with organizations, it is all about knowing how to lead from behind. And I hope over the years that that's what I've been able to do. But first I thought I'd actually start with a quick test, because I know that you're all used to having lectures and then having a quick test. So what I'm going to do is to sort of just check your knowledge of various types of leaders that you might have either come across in your current jobs, in jobs that you have had, or in jobs that you envision that you might have. So I'm going to give you a quote, and I want you to, one of you at least, don't embarrass me here by no one doing this, one of you at least calling out who do you think it is that said that. So the first quote: "The only charge that anyone can level against us is one of insufficient generosity to ourselves." What leader said that? Well, it was actually Lord Blackwood across Harvard. So one type of leadership is the Lord. Lords feel that they rule by divine right. Their leadership style is one from another era, when robber barons were king and petty crimes, like perhaps stealing boxes of evidence, could, with enough cash and possibly the right legal team, actually be ignored. Lords throw great parties, usually to honor themselves. And fortunately for us, many of them start to believe their own PR, and so will often overreach and in fact end up behind bars. So the next quote: "I could crush him like an ant, but it would be too easy. No, revenge is a dish best served cold. I'll bide my time until, oh, what the hell, I'll just crush him like an ant." Who's that?
Monty Burns?
Monty Burns? You're absolutely right. Monty Burns, so we know how he spends his time. Monty Burns from The Simpsons. This leader lives in a huge estate protected by a high wall, electrified fence, and a pack of vicious attack dogs. And actually, surprisingly, over the number of years that I've been in different CEO positions, working with a number of other CEOs in volunteer positions, there are leaders like this. Or they could be living downtown, the downtown equivalent. But basically, the door is always closed. Morally flexible, he, and unfortunately it often is a he, is not above unethical behavior. It's anything to get the job done. Excellent. All right, the next one. Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. Any idea? CEO from The Office. What do people spend your time doing? These are the idiots. Seen a lot of these in my time as well. These individuals have usually been promoted well beyond their abilities. Classic passive aggressives, they alternate between trying to be your best friend and blaming you for the latest screw up. They spend way too much time on vital tasks like scheduling bathroom breaks for the cute farm. Okay, and the last one should be an easy one. Do you want to keep selling sugared water, or do you want to change the world? Details, absolutely. Comets. Comets are on a mission, and they have a trajectory. When you grab onto the tail of one of these, you're in for a heck of a ride. They're single-minded, they're demanding, they're often tough to work for, and they're always memorable. Some of them may actually be known to yell a lot. You actually may produce the best work of your career working for one of these individuals. But they can also be exhausting and hard on your personal relationships. However, comets are great leaders to have at least once worked for. And finally, the seagull. I think many of you will recognize them immediately. They are the leaders that tend to fly in, make a lot of noise, particularly at meetings, crap all over everything. So that's the test. It's certainly not, and I must say that, you know, I'm not sure about the IQ of this group because you only got, I think, one of them right. So it's certainly not an exhaustive list of the kinds of leaders, but those are the kinds of leaders that you want to be wary of, and certainly wary that you don't become. So let's move on. How many of you in the room are cyclists? Oh, some of you. Oh, surprising. So those of you who are cyclists will recognize this, this next shot. This is a bike race. And what you're looking at is the peloton, which is the pack. I think if you look really close, you can see, I think that's me in front. Oh, it's a male. Okay, it's not me. You notice though, however, that they are riding really close to each other. The rider in front is doing all the hard work. And tucked in behind her, the others are being pulled along, which is called drafting. They're all going at the same speed, but those that are tucked in behind are using a lot less effort. Occasionally another rider will take the lead and even try to break away from the pack, but inevitably the pack will catch them. But by cooperating, by each taking a turn, the pack can travel faster and further than a solo rider. And this strategy works for all cyclists, not just for racing. And it works for other sports as well. The kayakers at the top left are also drafting. The lead, again, is doing most of the work while the others are tucked in close behind, conserving a lot of energy. They're riding a small wave at the back and at the sides of the lead boat. This is called wash riding or hanging wash. And again, by cooperating, by taking a turn at the lead, the group of paddlers can actually travel faster and farther than a single paddler. The flatwater paddlers on the right show that 4 motors working together is much better than 1. There are a lot of examples of this kind of behavior in the natural world as well. This is one that we see very often, in fact, at this time of the year, the Canada geese that are flying in a V formation as they migrate down south. These geese actually teach us a lot about leadership and about group behavior. As each goose flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the birds that follow. And by flying in a V, the whole flock can fly 70% further than if each bird flew alone, and they've been able to test this. By taking the advantage of the uplift from the bird in front, each bird actually saves 50% in energy. The lead bird is not always the strongest, and this is where you need to think of CEOs and people in positions of power. And geese change positions as they frequently during the flight. So as the lead goose begins to get tired, it rotates back into the group, and another goose comes forward and takes the lead position. They honk to encourage each other, not to wake us up early in the morning, and it also helps to keep the group staying together. So what's the point here? Well, people who share a common direction, a common purpose, and a sense of community can get where they're going much quicker and easier if they work as a group. They can conserve energy, and they travel on the thrust and the enthusiasm of one another. Leading a group is something that everyone should try. Going it alone, in fact, is a myth. And the image of a single charismatic individual, sword held high, leading his organization to victory is rarely true. And I know we all have examples of individuals that have done that, but they are the exception by far. Alexander the Great had great generals on his campaigns. In fact, he himself said, "Remember, upon the conduct of each depends the fate of all." Steve Jobs hired the people that he could find, the best people that he could find in design and marketing to help him create and sell Apple technology. Despite how they're portrayed, leaders truly do not do it alone. So my advice is simple. First, pick the right team. You know, I once heard a colleague speaking to another colleague unaware that I could hear. And this colleague said, well, ex-colleague, said, Faye's actually not that bright. She actually just hires really bright people. Well, you know, after I took her off my Christmas list, I thought, and I was a little offended, and I thought, well, you know what, actually that's very, very true. That's exactly what I do. I do try to hire bright people, the brightest people. I'm not intimidated by hiring people that are brighter than me. That's quite a few people. But I really do try to look at hiring powerful people that have particular skills that I don't have, and so that collectively what we can do is be much stronger. So that I look for people that can complement the skills of the rest of the team. One of the things that I've learned is that power comes in all sorts of different ways. You can be powerful because you're the CEO and you sit in the executive office, you sit in the big office and you get the big salary. But you can also be powerful because of the knowledge that you have. So think of individuals who actually have a lot of the knowledge. So it doesn't matter if I'm the CEO, if I know someone in my organization that actually has the knowledge that I need, they have a lot of power. Similarly, there's power that comes in who you know and the connections that you can make. There's no doubt that a lot of the times the reason that someone wants me on their board or wants me to be involved in something is because I have a vast network of individuals over the years and I have connections with. Most of the corporate CEOs in this city I've met one way or another, or most of the leaders. So the power in many cases is not the position that I've got, it is the networking and the people that I know. So you don't have to be a CEO to be powerful. A good leader identifies powerful people in the organizations and those that have got special skills who can lead in different ways at different times. When you pick the right people, you enable those people. And when you give them a chance to be at the front of the V, a chance to lead, you build a stronger team and a stronger organization. The next thing that I've learned is that once your team is in place, part of our job is just to get out of the way. In the past, I will acknowledge that I often ended up being the bottleneck in terms of the organization. I probably was a bit vain and felt that every single thing that came out of the foundation had to have me look at it. Every report, every brochure, every proposal that went out there really had to have my eyes look at it, and the added value that I would put on that would make all the difference. Well, that was a big mistake, and what it resulted in was a huge backlog, and it didn't empower staff. In fact, it was just the opposite. So hire good people, encourage them, and then get out of the way and let them do the job that you hire them to do. I strongly believe that my job as a leader is to ask the right questions and to make sure that the people and the organization are moving in the right general direction. You don't always have to be at the front of the pack to do that. In fact, often it's the quiet leader at the back that gets more done faster than the one who's yelling at the front. I want to talk a little bit about courage because it's an important quality, I believe, for all leaders. Being a leader really is hard work. The role often demands things of us that we don't actually enjoy doing or that don't come naturally. For example, believe it or not, and I know a lot of people that know me, I do go out and speak a fair bit, or I'm known to be a bit outspoken. I can't believe that. But I'm naturally actually quite shy and introverted. So standing up in front of a group or actually taking on the helm of a leadership, in a leadership role, isn't my natural comfort area. But I accept the fact that if I'm going to be the CEO of the largest foundation in Canada, then that's what I have to do. So it takes courage to actually step outside of your comfort zone when you're in a leadership position. What I'd rather be doing is just being at home in my sweats, walking the dog, than necessarily some of the things that you have to do as a CEO. But when you do take on the responsibility, one of the things that you have to do is represent the organization, and so it does mean stepping out of your comfort zone. You often, as a leader as well, have to do things, the right thing, no matter how scary it is. You might have to jeopardize a relationship. So I have had friends that have worked for me, and as a CEO, you're not hired to have friends in the organization. You're hired to run the organization. So I've had to fire friends. Well, I guess they're ex-friends now. So it's it can be really, really difficult, and it's often very difficult to actually have friends when you're CEO, having friends in the organization. And one of the really scary parts is that sometimes what you have to do is actually apologize, even if it was your mistake, or even if it wasn't. And let me tell you a very quick story. When I was the campaign director for United Way of the Lower Mainland, Bob Stewart, who was then the CEO of Scott Paper, was the campaign chair. Bob was a very, very big man. very big and powerful, probably equal to a Jimmy Patterson, if you want to remember a name, because many of you would remember Bob Stewart. He was the campaign chair, and we decided that it would be great if he did a presentation to CEOs in Vancouver. So we arranged for him to go and have a breakfast meeting at the Board of Trade, and we invited a number of CEOs to come and hear Bob talk about United Way. We sent out all the invitations. Well, unfortunately, the day before, we realized there was only about 13 people that had said they were going to come. So really, the worst thing in the world would be to Bob come in expecting a room of 60 or 70 people and find 13 people there. So we thought, no, we've got to cancel. So we diligently got on the phone and we phoned everybody and canceled and said, we're going to be rescheduling the meeting. So who do you think the one person is that we forgot to phone? Bob Stewart. So, not we, I. So Bob, of course, turned up the next morning at the Board of Trade to talk and realized there was no one there, so it was a little embarrassing. So when my boss, who is the CEO of United Way, sort of said, Bob Stewart has called us up and he's not pleased. And you need to go down and see him and apologize. And it's like, no, I can't, he will kill me, I just can't. I don't know what to say. And he said, no, you need to go down there, So I did, and his opening line is, do you take pleasure out of making a fool out of me? That was his opening line. So I am just gulping and thinking, okay, I just need to be straight. It's like, I am so sorry. You are I can't think of the worst person in the world who I would embarrass than you. So I am just sorry. I don't even know what else to say, but I'm sorry. So that's what you need to do when, when the buck stops with you. It really means the buck stops with you. He didn't kill me, but man. And I have to admit, because it was when I was 30, so I was much younger, but I did cry. Let me talk a little bit about the word encourage, because a part of the job is no doubt to not have courage, but actually to encourage and to motivate and encourage others. But in order to encourage others, you need to have courage yourself. And the final word that for me means a lot is the word compassion. Rather than the stoic pillars of strength that we envision in our leaders, I think an effective leader is willing to be vulnerable. And I feel very strongly about this, that sharing part of your own personal story, your own personal life, when you're the CEO, admitting that you don't have all the answers, makes you more human and makes you more approachable. Many of us got here not because we had a burning ambition to be a CEO, but because we did something well and we got promoted and we just took on new challenges. And we just want to do something really, really well, and we've learned a lot along the way. I actually started my career as a critical care nurse working in the open heart unit. And after 10 years of doing that, I worked for the Red Cross, and I worked managing a number of outpost hospitals in very remote areas of British Columbia. I learned a lot being an open heart nurse. One of the things that I learned was that everybody really is equal, and just because you're a CEO, if you're lying on the operating room table having an open heart surgery, it doesn't make any difference whether you're the CEO of a large corporation or a homeless individual off the street. You feel the same pain, you have the same worries, you're just as scared as the next person. That was a big learning experience for me. When I managed the outpost hospitals in Kayukwat and Banfield and Atlin and Alexis Creek, which there were no physicians there, it was just nurse practitioners, I learned a lot about resilience and courage and making mistakes and taking chances. For most of my life, I've been a single parent, and I probably have learned to be a better boss as a result of being a single parent, because I learned the importance of being able to communicate and talk to your children and having the opportunity to explore with them different options. I used to say to them, I will let you make your own decision if you give me the chance to talk to you about what the different options are and what the implications are for each one of those options. Then I will step back and let you make the decision. Tough, but I think that really helped me become a better CEO. The other thing that I learned that I hopefully I apply now in all my work is I had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of work in China, in Hong Kong and Taiwan, and I really learned so much from the Eastern philosophy of not backing people into corners and to saving face. And it's more important often to allow someone to save face than it is to win and to show that you're right. So I think that your personal history to a large degree determines the kind of leader that you're going to be. The title of today's talk was Leadership, Inspiring Our World. It's a tall order, and I hope through the various speakers that you've had today that we've been able to inspire a few of you in the room. Not everyone wants the burden of leadership, the privilege of leadership. Not everyone gets keys to the executive washroom. Actually, I've actually never been a CEO in an executive washroom. When I was at Children's, I was across from the washroom. So, and then I was in a breast bank office that was the breast bank, and I was in a chapel, converted chapel, but I've actually never had the keys to the executive washroom, so I think I have to work on that. Every one of you in this room is a potential leader, and I really want to encourage you to take the example of the geese and where you can come forward and do that leadership, and then fall back when you need to fall back and let someone take over. Take your turn at the front of the pack. Bring courage and compassion to whatever job it is that you're doing, and try leading from behind. I think that you'll cover more ground than you thought possible, and you certainly will develop lifelong relationships that you'll take not just into your professional life, but into your personal life as well. So thank you very much. I've really enjoyed the opportunity.